Mr. Speaker, can I begin by congratulating President-elect Trump on his historic election victory. As the closest of allies, the UK and US will continue to work together to protect our shared values of freedom and democracy.
Since the UK left the European Union, the only hope for its economic growth has been to strike a trade deal with the United States. Therefore, soon after Trump won the election, the British Prime Minister congratulated him and announced working closely with the United States and Donald Trump. Many are declaring this as a hint towards striking a trade deal with the United States. But what does Donald Trump think about this trade deal and how he has decided to get along with Keir Starmer and the United Kingdom? Is a deal possible, given that Donald Trump accused the Labour Party earlier? In this video, let's find out. After winning the election, Donald Trump revealed he would put 25% tariffs on Canada, which experts believe will significantly impact trade between the two countries. In this context, given that Canada is the United States' most immediate neighbour, it becomes hard to predict how the United Kingdom will be treated. When the Canadian Prime Minister heard about that, he immediately met with Trump to perhaps appease him. However, in the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer appears to have a different strategy.
I want to be clear at the outset, against the backdrop of these dangerous times, the idea that we must choose between our allies, that somehow we're with either America or Europe, is plain wrong. I reject it utterly. Attlee did not choose between allies. Churchill did not choose. The national interest demands that we work with both. Our relationship with the United States has been the cornerstone of our security and our prosperity for over a century. And we will never turn away from that. We call it the special relationship for a reason.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that the United Kingdom does not need to choose between strengthening ties with Donald Trump's America and forging closer relationships with Europe. Speaking at a foreign policy event in London, Starmer made it clear that his Labour government intends to maintain strong partnerships with both the United States and European allies, even as new challenges emerge under a Trump presidency.
Voting Keir Starmer, the UK Premier.
Yes, he's coming tonight.
What do you think of him? Some of his colleagues in government are quite critical of you.
Well, I'm going to see him in about an hour, so I have to be nice, right? But I actually think he's very nice. I think he ran a great race. He did very well. It's very early, but he's popular, and I'll be seeing.
Starmer highlighted Britain's long-standing ability to collaborate with both powers, pointing to historic examples of pragmatic diplomacy under leaders like Clement Attlee and Winston Churchill. Starmer underscored the importance of the UK's partnership with the United States, describing it as the cornerstone of Britain's security and prosperity for over a century. This relationship, rooted in a history of collaboration during 2 world wars and countless global crises, remains central to Starmer's foreign policy approach. However, coming too close to the United States politics might be dangerous, as Trump accused the Labour Party of interfering in elections.
The Trump campaign's lawyers have quoted that post in this explosive letter to federal election authorities, calling on them to investigate the Labour Party for blatant foreign interference in the presidential campaign. They say paying for travel or accommodation or any use of party resources to organise the trip would breach US laws on foreign national donations. Labour deny any wrongdoing.
Will the Deputy Prime Minister join me in applauding the brave Labour staff members who've travelled across the Atlantic to campaign against Donald Trump?
People in their own time often go and campaign, and that's what we've seen. It happens in all political parties. People go and campaign and they do what they want to do.
Furthermore, acknowledging Trump's contentious calls for NATO allies to increase defence spending and potential tariffs on traditional allies, Starmer positioned the UK's alliance with the US as one of strategic pragmatism. While strengthening ties with the US remains a priority, Starmer also emphasised his government's commitment to rebuilding relations with the European Union. Years of Brexit-related tensions have left scars, but Starmer views renewed cooperation with Europe as vital for Britain's future prosperity and security. He pointed to easing trade frictions and strengthening diplomatic ties with European capitals as key steps toward rebuilding trust and collaboration.
And that's why, when President Trump graciously hosted me for dinner at Trump Tower, I told him that we will invest more deeply than ever in this transatlantic bond with our American friends in the years to come. And we will rebuild our ties with Europe too. The future of freedom in Europe is being decided today. We face a near and present danger with Russia as an erratic, increasingly desperate aggressor on our continent, marshalling all its resources, along with North Korean troops and Iranian missiles, aiming to kill and to conquer.
However, this strategy will soon be tested. Trump's administration may push for tariffs on European goods, demand reduced trade with China, or attempt to pressure Ukraine into territorial concessions with Russia. Handling these demands while maintaining balanced relations with both the US and Europe will require skillful diplomacy and careful decision-making.
I will prevent, and very easily, World War III, very easily. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It will be settled quickly. I will get the problem solved, and I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than one day. I know exactly what to say to each of them. I got along very well with them.
Donald Trump appears that he is on the verge of becoming the Republican nominee for president. The last time I interviewed him, he refused to say if he wanted Ukraine or Russia to win this war. Are you prepared for him to be reelected?
If Donald Trump doesn't know whom he will support, Ukraine or Russia, I think that he will have challenges with his society, because to support Russia, it means be against Americans.
In this context, whether a trade deal between the UK and the US is possible needs to be understood. When Brexit was proposed in 2016, one of its most promising opportunities was the potential for a comprehensive trade deal with the United States. Brexit supporters highlighted the potential of this agreement to strengthen the special relationship between the two nations, leveraging the UK's status as a major services exporter to the US and the US's role as the UK's largest export market. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more exclusive videos on the groundbreaking changes happening in British politics. Let's continue now. However, 8 years later, this vision remains unfulfilled. Efforts to negotiate a trade deal between the UK and the US gained momentum during Donald Trump's presidency in 2020, after the UK formally exited the EU and gained the ability to negotiate its own free trade agreements. Initial optimism about the deal's potential quickly gave way to challenges over contentious issues like food standards and the NHS.
I don't know what they're going to do, but whatever you do is okay with me. That's your decision. Whatever you're going to do is okay with us. Just make sure we can trade together. I'd like to see that whole situation with Brexit work out. I'd like to see, we're talking to them about trade, and we can do a very big trade deal with the UK.
For decades, the UK had adhered to strict EU food safety standards, ensuring high-quality controls that the public had come to trust. However, US trade negotiators sought to ease these standards to allow American agricultural products, such as hormone-treated beef and chlorine-washed chicken, into the UK market. This sparked widespread backlash from UK citizens, campaigners, and the media, who were unwilling to compromise on food safety. Faced with public opposition, the UK government firmly rejected any deal that would lower food standards. Another major sticking point was the US pharmaceutical industry's push to reform how the UK's National Health Service procures drugs. American companies wanted broader access to the NHS market and higher drug prices, raising fears of a significant cost increase for the public healthcare system. During the 2019 general election, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn accused the Conservative government of putting the NHS up for sale, galvanising public resistance to any perceived privatisation. These issues made the deal politically untenable and negotiations stalled.
What we know of the government's proposals, what we know of what Mr. Johnson has done, is a series of secret meetings with the United States in which they were proposing to open up our NHS markets, as they call them, to American companies. Freedom of Information Act request was made in order to find out what happened at these meetings. That's what happened at these meetings. Every single line of this document redacted out. A document here of US-UK negotiations, summary of specific negotiating objectives, full
Johnson.
Market access for US products to our National Health Service. You're going to sell
Johnson,
our National Health Service out to the United States.
Despite these challenges, Trump remained optimistic, repeatedly promising a massive trade agreement to support Brexit. However, his 2020 election defeat brought negotiations to a halt. Under the Biden administration, FTAs were deprioritized, leaving the UK-US trade deal shelved indefinitely. By 2024, UK Trade Secretary Kemi Badenoch confirmed that the agreement had been effectively abandoned. However, now, with Donald Trump returning to office, interest in a UK-US trade deal has been revived. Trump's support for Brexit and alignment with UK interests during his first presidency suggest he might revisit the stalled negotiations. Economically, such a deal holds clear advantages for both nations.
Look, I think everything with a trade deal is on the table. When you're dealing in trade, everything's on the table. So NHS or anything else, or a lot more than that. But everything will be on the table, absolutely. Okay.
But the point about making trade deals is, of course, that both sides negotiate and come to an agreement about what should or should not be in that trade.
Reducing trade barriers could significantly lower costs for businesses. For example, US tariffs on UK baby formula currently impose an effective tax of 25%. According to UK government estimates, cutting such barriers could boost UK exports to the US by 4.3% and US exports to the UK by 4.1%, facilitating mutual economic growth. Furthermore, the UK is the largest partner in US services trade, and the US is one of the UK's largest goods markets, making the economic benefits of a trade deal undeniable. Geopolitically, a trade deal could align with Trump's strategic interests by encouraging regulatory divergence between the UK and the EU. Such divergence would not only deepen the UK's economic ties with the US, but also weaken its alignment with Brussels, a bloc Trump has openly criticised. This would serve Trump's broader goal of challenging EU cohesion and influence.
We are the #1 country export market for Great Britain. They're #4 for us, right behind Canada, Mexico, and China. So it makes a lot of sense for us to have a bilateral deal with Great Britain. And bilateral deals is what President Trump likes, right? What Bob Lighthizer likes, Ambassador Lighthizer, our trade representative. And that used to be the way it worked with America. We would trade with our friends. Somewhere along the line, we got this idea that, well, anybody we trade with will become our friend. But we've seen that hasn't really worked out.
Despite the potential benefits, significant challenges stand in the way of a UK-US trade deal. Trump's America First policies prioritize protectionism and domestic economic interests. During his previous term, he proposed raising tariffs on Chinese goods to 60% and introducing a universal import tax of at least 10% on all imports. While the UK might hope for exemptions, Trump's unpredictable decision-making could jeopardize negotiations.
One of the things that we hear from him is that there will be, if he gets his way, 20% tariffs on all imported goods. Should we take that literally? And if we do, what follows?
He certainly has talked about tariffs. He calls it a beautiful word, tariffs. So I think that's something people have to expect. Economists express great concern about that. Wall Street and analysts have suggested that that could have exactly the opposite effect in terms of inflation, which has now come down, has been controlled by the careful steps taken over the last couple of years to combat the post-pandemic inflation that has been such a challenge for many Americans and frankly around the world. So tariffs, there'll be a lot of rhetoric on a lot of topics. I think the important thing is to head down straight through and work on this. Diplomats will have their roles cut out for them.
I guess we won't be protected by the special relationship, will we?
Well, that relationship endures, and I think it'll be under a potential Trump presidency, second term, transactional. He's a very transactional president, a transactional person, and that's what he'll be looking for. But our relationship in terms of defense, intelligence sharing, in terms of what our two nations really share historically, culturally, it'd be very positive, and that I am quite confident.
Political sensitivities in the UK further complicate the deal. To move forward, the UK might need to revisit previously rejected terms, such as accepting chlorinated chicken or granting US pharmaceutical companies greater influence over the NHS. These concessions remain politically toxic, particularly under Keir Starmer's Labour Party, which would likely face a public backlash if it appeared to undermine the NHS or lower food standards. Additionally, Trump's impulsive leadership style and strained relationships with some UK officials add another layer of complexity. High-profile figures in Trump's circle, such as Elon Musk, have criticised Starmer. Elon Musk even retweeted the petition that is asking Starmer to resign and call for a fresh election. Even some UK cabinet members have had to retract comments about Trump's presidency. Such dynamics could hinder the smooth progress of negotiations.
Because something does really well online, particularly when it's been retweeted by Elon Musk, doesn't necessarily mean that this tells you a huge amount about nationwide British sentiment.
Well, no, exactly. We saw this enormous jump in figures because it was promoted by Elon Musk. I mean, what does he want from British politics?
Elon Musk wants to intervene in... No, he's not going to get that. Elon Musk wants to intervene in British politics to topple Keir Starmer. It's pretty clear. I talked to his father, very strange man this week. Errol Musk. And he was again saying the trouble with Keir Starmer is that he's a fascist, Stalinist, anti-democratic, tyrant, and he must be pulled down. That is the sort of Elon Musk line at the moment. And this petition has indeed, if you look at the detail, got supporters from all around the world, all sorts of strange places, which are not Lincolnshire, North Korea, all over the place. So at that level, we don't take it seriously. But I think there's a much more important point as well, which is that this is, as it were, an informal, biased plebiscite.
What do you think? Will Keir Starmer succeed in striking a trade deal with the United States? Or do you think Donald Trump would not like to get closer to the United Kingdom, given his comments that the Labour Party was interfering? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on how Donald Trump's becoming the United States president will impact the UK. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get more updates on British politics and how events are changing it. Until the next video, stay tuned.